You don't have the right to lock us out of our own neighborhood." That's what Diane Wexler screamed at me through a bullhorn. 10 feet standing on my fence line, in front of 30 witnesses, being recorded by cameras she didn't know were running. She had organized the community safety walk to protest the fact that I had installed a biometric security gate on my own private driveway. A gate with no key, no keyhole, no code, nothing. She could demand, copy, or send someone to cut in the middle of the night, which, by the way, she had already done twice with my old padlocks. She thought she was making a statement. What she was actually doing was committing criminal trespass on camera in front of a newspaper photographer she hadn't noticed, parked on the county road behind her. Have you ever watched someone build their own case against themselves? Tell me below, would you have stopped her or let her keep walking? My name is Curtis Bain. I'm 47 years old, and I work as a cybersecurity consultant out of Asheville, North Carolina. Before that, I spent 12 years in the Air Force, working signals, intelligence, and electronic security systems. I know locks, I know access control, I know how to keep people out of places they don't belong, and I know how to document every single attempt they make to get in. My father, Earl Bain, bought 26 acres on the western slope of Pisgah Ridge back in 1989. Dense hardwood forest oak, hickory poplar, with a seasonal creek running through the northeast corner, and a gravel access road that connects to County Route 9. He built a cabin there in 1991. Nothing fancy, 12 square feet of post and beam construction with a metal roof, a stone fireplace, a wraparound porch, and a view of the Smokies that would stop your heart on a clear morning. He used that cabin every weekend for 25 years, hunted deer from it in the fall, fished the creek in spring, sat on the porch in summer, and read Louis L'Amour novels until the lightning bugs came When the Ridgecrest Meadows subdivision went in around 2008, the developer bought 100 acres east of Dad's property and carved it into 62 residential lots, cookie-cutter houses on half-acre parcels, community pool, walking trail, the whole suburban package. The HOA was formed the same year. Dad's land was never part of the subdivision. Never part of the HOA, the properties shared a boundary line. About 400 feet of split rail fence along the eastern edge. And that was the extent of the relationship. Dad passed in 2016 from pancreatic cancer. I inherited the property free and clear. The cabin became my retreat, my decompression chamber after long consulting contracts. I drive up on Friday afternoons, turn off my phone, and spend 2 days doing nothing but splitting wood, grilling steaks, and sitting on the porch, watching the ridge change color. Diane Wexler moved into Ridgecrest Meadows in 2019. She was 54, divorced. Originally from Charlotte, and had the kind of energy that fills a room, the way a smoke alarm fills a hallway. She ran for HOA President within 3 months of moving in, and won unopposed because nobody else wanted the job. That should tell you everything. Within 6 months, she had rewritten the landscaping guidelines, hired a new management company, and started sending violation notices to homeowners about mailbox height, fence stain color, and whether basketball hoops were architecturally compatible. The first time I met her was at a community yard sale that spilled over onto the road. Near my property line, she walked up my driveway uninvited, knocked on my cabin door, and introduced herself, as though she were presenting credentials at an embassy. She told me my gravel driveway was visually inconsistent with the neighborhood aesthetic and asked if I'd consider paving it. I told her my property wasn't part of her neighborhood. She smiled, the way a cat smiles at a mouse it hasn't decided to chase yet, and said, "Well, we're all neighbors here, aren't we?" I should have recognized that smile for what it was. A declaration of intent. The trouble started with the gate. My property has a single access point from County Route 9, a gravel road that runs about 300 yards through the trees to the cabin. Dad had installed a basic tube gate at the entrance with a padlock, more to keep ATVs out than anything else. It had been there since the 90s. Nobody had ever complained about it. In March of 2022, I got a letter from the Ridgecrest Meadows HOA on official letterhead, signed by Diane Wexler, informing me that my gate impedes emergency access to the surrounding community, and that I was required to provide the HOA with a key to the padlock. Within 30 days, the letter cited something called the Ridgecrest Community Safety Initiative and referenced a section of the HOA bylaws about emergency preparedness and access coordination. I read it twice, then I checked my property records. My land was not part of Ridgecrest Meadows. My gate was on my property. The gravel road behind it LED exclusively to my cabin. There was no public easement, no shared access, no emergency route that ran through my land. The nearest fire hydrant was half a mile away, on the subdivision's internal road. My gate impeded nothing except uninvited visitors. I wrote back a polite letter explaining that my property was private, not subject to HOA governance, and that no key would be provided. I included a copy of my deed and a survey map showing the property boundaries. 2 weeks later, I got a second letter. This one was less polite. It stated that the HOA board had voted to classify my gate as a community safety obstruction, and that failure to provide a key within 15 days would result in fines and corrective action. The fine was $300. I didn't respond to the second letter. I pinned it to my refrigerator and went fishing. The following Saturday, I drove up to the cabin and found my padlock had been cut. Clean bolt cutter job. The lock was on the ground. The gate was open, and there were fresh tire tracks on my road. I checked the trail camera I keep mounted on a pine tree near the gate. Standard practice, I'd had cameras running since 2018, and found footage from the previous Wednesday showing a white pickup truck pulling up to the gate. At 2:47 p.m., a man got out, cut the lock, swung the gate open, and drove through. He came back out 11 minutes later. The truck had no plates visible from the camera angle, but I could see a Ridgecrest Meadows parking sticker on the rear window. I replaced the padlock with a heavier one, hardened steel shackle anti-cut design, pick-resistant core. I also added a second trail camera at a different angle to catch plates. The following Wednesday, the new lock was cut too. Same bolt cutters, same clean job. This time, the camera caught the plate. The truck was registered to a man named Glenn Furlow, who I later learned was the HOA's contracted maintenance supervisor. My camera also caught something else. Diane Wexler's silver Lexus pulling up.